Captain Hanwoo stood in the middle of his ship, looking at the big blue screen floating in front of him. The screen showed numbers and letters from alien computers all around. The galaxy his dark eyes looked tired because he had been working for. Many hours trying to understand something very strange. The Galactic Survey Team had a very important job. They traveled from planet to planet making maps and lists of every world where smart creatures lived. They wrote down everything about each planet, how hot or cold it was, what kind of air the creatures breathed, and most importantly, what terrible things happened there. Every planet they visited had stories of bad things, natural disasters. They called them big mountains that exploded and covered cities with hot rock ground that shook so hard it broke buildings in half storms with winds so strong they could blow away entire towns. Water that rose up from the oceans and washed away everything people had built. So Jin sat at her desk. Nearby, her fingers moved very fast over the buttons and switches on her control panel. She was the person who talked to other ships and planets using the big radio systems. Her job was to collect information from every world. They studied, Captain, she said without looking up from her work. I have checked the information about Earth 12 times now. The computer keeps giving me the same answer. Earth has 0 natural disasters written in their official records. The whole bridge became very quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing to listen. The only sound was the soft humming noise their ship made as it flew through space. Dongmin, who was in charge of finding the way to different planets, looked up from his charts. His old face showed he was very confused. That cannot be right, he said slowly. We have looked at their planet through our telescopes. We can see they have big pieces of land that move around. They have mountains that should explode. They have oceans that should make terrible storms. Their world should be very dangerous for the people living there. Hyunwoo walked closer to the big screen and touched it with his finger. The information about Earth appeared in bright blue letters. Every other planet on their list had long reports about earthquakes and volcano explosions and deadly storms. But Earth was different. The space next to Earth, where the disaster reports should be, was completely empty. This makes no sense at all, said Yuri, who worked with the ship's computers. She was young but very smart about understanding alien technology. Every planet we have studied has had problems with natural disasters. The planet called Zarian had 3 cities destroyed by earthquakes. Last year, the water world Aquitus had storms that lasted for 6 months. The desert planet Sandros had a volcano that exploded and changed their whole climate. So Jin turned around in her chair to face the captain. Sir, I have contacted other survey ships in this area. They all have the same information about Earth. The humans have been part of the Galactic Council for 50 years. Now they have sent us all their official records. Nothing about earthquakes, nothing about storms, nothing about exploding mountains. Shinwoo rubbed his chin with his hand the way he always did when he was thinking about something difficult. He had been exploring space and studying alien worlds for 20 years. He had seen planets where the ground moved every day. He had visited worlds where the sky rained fire. He had walked on planets where the weather was so bad that people had to live underground. But he had never seen a planet like Earth. Look at this information, said Taeho, who took care of the ship's scientific equipment. He made the big screen show pictures of Earth taken from very far away. You can see their planet has all the things that should make natural disasters. They have big cracks in the ground where pieces of land meet. They have tall mountains that look like they should explode. They have huge oceans that should make giant waves. The pictures showed Earth spinning slowly in the darkness of space. It looked beautiful with white clouds moving over blue water and green land. But their machines could see things that eyes could not see. The scientific equipment showed them that deep underground there were powerful forces moving around. These forces should have been causing earthquakes every day. Their equipment also showed them that the air around Earth was moving in ways that should have created terrible storms. Hurricanes and tornadoes should have been destroying things on Earth all the time, but according to the official records from the human government, none of these bad things ever happened. We need to understand this mystery, said Hyunwoo in a serious voice. Set our course for Earth. We are going to visit the humans and ask them directly how their planet can be so peaceful. So Jin started pushing buttons to contact the Earth government while Dongmin began planning the trip to the human world. Taeho prepared his scientific equipment so they could study Earth more closely when they got there. But As their ship began to turn toward the small blue planet, none of them knew they were about to discover one of the biggest secrets in the whole galaxy. The humans had been very quiet about some things, and there was a very good reason why the Galactic Council had never asked too many questions about Earth's disaster-free status. The trip to Earth would take 3 days. During those 3 days, Hyun-woo spent most of his time reading everything the Galactic Survey had ever written about humans and their planet. The more he read, the more confused he became. Humans were a young species. They had only been writing down their history for about 5,000 years. Most alien species took much longer to develop writing and technology. The oldest species in the galaxy had been keeping records for hundreds of thousands of years, but despite being so young, humans had spread across their entire planet very quickly. They had built cities everywhere. Even in places that looked very dangerous, they had cities near tall mountains that should explode. They had cities on islands in the middle of oceans where storms should destroy them. They had cities built right on top of the big cracks in the ground where earthquakes should happen. Other species were much more careful about where they built their homes. Most aliens only lived in the safest parts of their planets, far away from volcanoes and earthquake zones. It usually took alien species many thousands of years to feel safe enough to build cities in dangerous places, but humans seemed to have no fear at all. Strangest thing was that human cities were not just surviving in dangerous places, they were growing bigger and stronger every year. The human population was increasing very fast. Their technology was developing quickly. They acted like a species that had never experienced a major natural disaster in their entire history. As their ship got closer to Earth, Hyun-woo called a meeting with his crew in the main conference room. They all sat around a big table while holographic displays showed them more information about the mysterious human world. "We are about to make contact with a species that may be hiding something very important," said Hyun-woo. "I want everyone to pay close attention to what the humans tell us and what they do not tell us. Sometimes the things people do not say are more important than the things they do say." Sojin nodded and made notes on her electronic tablet. Dongmin studied maps of Earth's surface, looking for clues about why the planet seemed so safe. Taeho checked his scientific equipment one more time to make sure it was working perfectly. Yuri prepared translation programs so they could understand everything the humans said. None of them had any idea that they were about to learn something that would change how they thought about humans forever. The discovery they were about to make would shock the entire Galactic Council and reveal that Earth was not just another peaceful planet. It was something much more incredible and much more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. 3 days passed as their ship moved through the dark space toward Earth. Captain Hyun-woo spent most of his time looking at the information they had about the human planet, but nothing made sense to him. Every piece of scientific data showed that Earth should be a very dangerous place to live. When they finally got close to Earth, the planet looked even more beautiful than in the pictures. White clouds moved slowly over bright blue oceans and green continents that seemed to shine in the sunlight. But their advanced machines told them a completely different story. Sojin looked at her computer screen with wide eyes. "Captain, the readings from our sensors are very strange. The ground under Earth is moving in ways that should cause massive earthquakes. Right now, the air around the planet is forming weather patterns that should create terrible storms. The heat from inside the planet shows volcanic activity that should be exploding everywhere." Dongmin checked his navigation equipment twice to make sure they were looking at the right planet. "This cannot be the same Earth that has 0 disasters in their records," he said. "The scientific data shows their planet should be experiencing natural disasters every single day." Taeho was studying the thermal readings from his advanced scanners. "Sir, I am detecting at least 15 locations where underground volcanic activity should be causing eruptions. The energy levels are higher than anything we measured on the volcano planet Infernus before their last major disaster contact established with Earth's global defense network," announced Sojin. "They are directing us to landing coordinates in a place called Seoul. They seem to have been expecting USAs." Their ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Hyun-woo noticed something very unusual about human cities. From high above, he could see that humans had built their homes and buildings in exactly the places where natural disasters should happen. Most often, cities sat directly on top of fault lines where Earthquakes should be constant. Coastal cities were built right where ocean storms should hit them the hardest. Mountain settlements were positioned near peaks that their scanners showed should be active volcanoes. This is either incredible luck or incredible stupidity, said Yuri as she watched the landscape pass below them. But humans are not stupid species. We know they are smart enough to join the Galactic Counselor. They know something we do not know, replied Hyungwoo quietly. Their ship landed on a flat area outside the city of Seoul. Almost immediately they saw a group of humans walking toward them. The humans moved with confidence and showed no signs of fear even though they were meeting aliens for the first time. The leader of the human group was a tall man who introduced himself as Ambassador Ji-hoon. He had kind eyes and a patient smile that made him seem trustworthy. His assistant was a woman named Yunbai who carried a tablet computer that seemed to contain prepared information. Welcome to Earth, said Ji-hoon in perfect galactic standard language. We understand you have questions about our planetary records. We have been expecting a visit like this for some time. Yun-woo studied the human ambassador carefully. There was something in the way Ji-hoon spoke that suggested he had been preparing for this conversation for a very long time. The ambassador was not surprised by their visit, and he seemed to already know what questions they were going to ask. Our scientific equipment shows that your planet should be experiencing regular natural disasters, explained Hyun-woo directly. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, severe storms. Yet your official records show none of these things. How is this possibly? Ji-hoon exchanged a quick look with Yunbai. The woman nodded slightly, as if she was giving him permission to continue with whatever plan they had. Maid Captain, would you and your crew be willing to take a short journey with us? Asked Ji-hoon. There are some things that are better shown than explained. We believe you will find the answers you are looking for, but they are not the kind of answers that can be given with simple words. The alien crew agreed to go with the humans. They were very curious about what the humans wanted to show them. They boarded a sleek transport vehicle that looked much more advanced than the technology they expected humans to have. The vehicle lifted silently into the air without making any of the noise that most flying machines made. As they flew over the human landscape, Dongmin pressed his face against the window to get a better look at the cities below. Look at those buildings, he said with amazement. They are built right on top of geological fault lines. Those humans are either the luckiest species in the galaxy, or they have some kind of protection we do not understand. Sojin was using a small scanner to take readings of the area they were flying over. The energy signatures I am detecting are very unusual, she reported. There seems to be some kind of artificial technology interfering with the natural geological processes. What kind of technology? Asked Tae-hoi. Do not know, replied Sojin. It is unlike anything in our databases. The energy patterns are completely foreign to our. Chanchery was watching the human cities pass below them. Notice how perfectly placed everything is, she observed. Every building, every road, every bridge seems to be positioned with exact precision, as if the humans knew exactly where it would be safe to build. The transport vehicle flew toward what looked like an ordinary mountain range covered with green trees and normal-looking rocks. But as they got closer, hidden doors began to open in the mountainside. The doors were so well camouflaged that they had been completely invisible until they started to move. Welcome to Station Alpha, said Ji-hoon as their vehicle flew through the opening. One of 47 monitoring stations positioned around our planet. The alien crew gasped as they saw what was inside the mountain. The interior was much larger than should have been possible given the size of the mountain. From outside, massive screens covered the walls from floor to ceiling, showing real-time information from every corner of Earth. Hundreds of human technicians worked at control stations, their faces lit up by streams of constantly changing data. At the center of everything stood a woman with silver hair who was clearly in charge. She moved between different control stations, coordinating activities across multiple screens with the efficiency of someone who had been doing this job for many years. Seismic event building in the Pacific Ring of Fire, called out one technician named Taeho. Magnitude 8.2 predicted in 6 hours. Atmospheric pressure dropping rapidly over the Atlantic, reported another worker named Yuri. Category 5 hurricane formation imminent within 12 hours. Yellowstone thermal readings indicate supervolcanic activity increasing, added a third technician named Jae-sung. Underground Pressure has reached critical levels. The silver-haired woman nodded calmly at each report as if this was completely normal. Initiate standard protocols, she commanded Seismic. Team prepare harmonic interference systems. Weather team deploy atmospheric stabilizers. Volcanic team activate deep core cooling system. Shenwu and his crew watched with growing amazement as the human technicians worked with practiced speed and precision on the massive screens. They could see the results of the human work almost immediately. The earthquake readings that had been building toward a major disaster began to smooth out and disappear. The forming hurricane lost its power and scattered into ordinary rain clouds. The dangerous volcanic pressure readings dropped back to safe levels. You control your planet's natural disasters, whispered Sojin, her voice filled with shock and awe. The silver-haired woman turned to face them with a serious expression. Control is not the right word, Captain. My name is Haewon, and I am the director of this facility. We do not control natural disasters. We manage them, we redirect them. We have been doing this work for over 2,000 years. But that means, said Dongmin slowly, that your species has had this technology since before you had space travel, since before you even knew other intelligent species existed. That is correct, replied Haewon, and now you are beginning to understand why. We have been so careful about what information we share with the Galactic Council. Haewon led the alien crew deeper into the underground facility, past laboratories filled with technology that looked decades ahead of what the Galactic Survey had recorded for human civilization. The corridors were long and filled with busy humans, carrying tablets and electronic equipment, all working with the focused intensity of people doing very important work. This facility extends for over 50 kilometers. Underground, explained Ji-hoon as they walked. What you see here is just the surface level. We have 7 more levels below us, each one dedicated to different aspects of planetary management. Thien Wu tried to understand what he was seeing, but it was difficult to believe the humans had built something larger and more complex than many alien space stations, but they had hidden it completely inside a mountain. Their technology appeared to be far more advanced than anything humans had shown to the Galactic Council. How long has this place existed? He asked. Dunbai checked her tablet. Before answering, Station Alpha has been operational for 800 years, but the original facility was built much earlier. The technology and knowledge we use here is much older than our recorded civilization. They stopped at a massive control room where dozens of technicians monitored screens showing every part of Earth in real time. Taeho sat at a station covered with buttons and switches that controlled seismic activity across the entire Pacific Ocean. Yuri worked at a weather control center where she could see and influence storm systems anywhere on the planet. Jae-sung managed volcanic activity monitoring systems that tracked underground magma movement on every continent. Sojin stared at the displays in amazement. These humans were not just predicting natural disasters, they were actively preventing them from happening. The screens showed earthquake activity being redirected away from populated areas, storm systems being broken apart before they could become dangerous, volcanic pressure being released safely through underwater vents far from any cities. But this is impossible, she whispered. Your species should not have this kind of technology. How can you control forces that are powerful enough to destroy entire continents? We do not control them, corrected Haewon. We work with them, we guide them, we redirect their energy to places where they cannot cause harm. Think of it like redirecting a river. You do not stop the water from flowing, but you can choose where it goes. Dongmin walked closer to one of the displays showing a cross-section view of Earth's interior. The technology they are using seems to work with the natural forces of the planet rather than fighting against them, he observed. Look at these energy patterns. They are not stopping earthquakes, they are channeling the seismic energy through underground pathways to areas where it can be released safely. A new alarm began beeping at one of the control stations. Taeho looked up from his instruments with concern. Major seismic event building beneath the city of Tokyo. Magnitude 7.8 expected within 4 hours. Population at risk approximately 12 million. People. Haewon moved to Taeho's station and began working alongside him. Their fingers moved quickly over the controls as they accessed systems deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. On the main display screen, the alien crew could see what was happening in real time. Deep underground beneath Tokyo, massive forces were building pressure as tectonic plates shifted against each other. The natural result should have been a devastating earthquake that would destroy much of the city and kill thousands of people, but the humans were not going to let that happen. Activating harmonic resonance system announced Tejo underground charges positioned. Energy redirection beginning now. What followed was like watching magic happen. The building seismic pressure beneath Tokyo was gradually redirected through a network of underground channels. The energy that should have caused a major earthquake was instead dispersed across hundreds of smaller releases far beneath the ocean floor where no one would be harmed. Tokyo earthquake threat neutralized. Reported Yuri population never knew they were in danger. This happens every day, asked Hanwha multiple times every day, replied Hayone. Earth is a very active planet geologically speaking. Without our intervention, your original assessment would be correct. We would experience major natural disasters constantly. Our civilization would never have been able to develop the way it has. Jisung looked up from his volcanic monitoring station. We also handle 3 to 5 potential volcanic eruptions every week and redirect approximately 15 major storm systems every month during hurricane season. We sometimes manage over 50 weather events in a single day. The alien crew was beginning to understand the scope of what the humans were doing. This was not just disaster prevention. It was complete planetary management on a scale that no other species in the galaxy had ever attempted. But where did you learn to do this? Asked Sojin. This technology is far beyond what any young species should possess. How did humans develop these capabilities? Ji-hoon and Haewon exchanged a meaningful look, as if they were deciding whether to reveal an even bigger secret. That is a story that requires us to go deeper into this facility, said Haewon. There are things we need to show you that will explain not just how we do this, but why we have kept it secret from the Galactic Council. They walked to an elevator that took them down several more levels. The deeper they went, the older the technology appeared to be. The walls changed from modern human construction to something that looked much more ancient. Stone blocks fitted together with perfect precision, covered with symbols that were definitely not human in origin. We are now 7 levels below the surface, explained Yoon. By this part of the facility is much older than anything humans built ourselves. What you are about to see has been kept secret for thousands of years. The elevator stopped and the doors opened to reveal a corridor lined with stone walls covered in hieroglyphs that predated any known human writing system. Soft lights illuminated the ancient symbols, making them seem to glow with mysterious energy. At the end of the corridor was a sealed vault door marked with symbols that looked like they came from a completely different world. The door was made of some kind of metal that the alien crew did not recognize, and it was covered with warnings written in the same ancient symbols. What you are about to see, said Ji-hoon quietly, is known to fewer than 1,000 humans alive today. It is the reason we were so careful about joining the Galactic Council, the reason we never talked about our disaster management systems in detail. The vault door began to open with a deep rumbling sound. Inside they could see ancient stone tablets covered in more hieroglyphs. Alongside them were holographic recording devices that looked far more advanced than anything in the upper levels of the facility. This is where our story really begins, said Haewon as they entered the ancient vault. This is where you will learn the truth about Earth and why we have 0 natural disasters in our official records. The holographic devices activated, showing images from Earth's distant past, images that would explain everything and change how the alien crew thought about humans forever. The holographic display came to life, showing images from 12,000 years ago, when Earth looked very different from the peaceful planet the alien crew had observed. The sky was dark with volcanic ash, and the ground shook constantly from earthquakes that never seemed to stop. Primitive humans huddled in caves while massive storms raged outside and mountains exploded with fire and molten rock. 12,000 years ago, began Haewon as the ancient recordings played. Earth was exactly what your scientific instruments predicted it should be, a world constantly racked by natural disasters that prevented any intelligent life from developing properly. The holographic images showed early humans living in constant fear, never able to build permanent settlements because earthquakes would destroy them, never able to develop Agriculture, because volcanic eruptions would bury their crops, never able to advance their civilization because they spent all their time just trying to survive. Then, something incredible happened, said Ji-hoon as the display changed to show strange objects descending from the skyships that were clearly not human in design landed on Earth, and beings emerged that were taller than humans with technology that seemed like magic to the primitive people. They called themselves the Guardians, continued Haewon. The holographic recordings showed these alien beings approaching groups of frightened humans and communicating with them using some kind of universal translation device. The Guardians had been watching Earth for thousands of years, waiting for intelligent life to develop, but they realized that the planet's violent nature would never allow human civilization to advance beyond the most basic survival level. Every time humans tried to build something permanent, natural disasters would destroy it. So the Guardians made a decision that would change the course of human history forever. They offered us a deal, explained Yunbai as the recording showed the ancient aliens teaching primitive humans how to use incredible technology. They would share their knowledge of planetary management with our ancestors. They would teach us how to work with Earth instead of just surviving its violence, but there was a price for this knowledge in exchange, said Ji-hoon. We would become the caretakers of this world. We would use their technology not just to protect ourselves, but to protect the planet itself for all future generations. We would become the guardians of Earth, just as they had been guardians of many worlds before us. The holographic display showed the incredible transformation that followed. Over hundreds of years, humans learned to use Guardian technology to redirect earthquakes, channel volcanic energy, and control weather patterns. Slowly but steadily, Earth became a safer place to live. But the most important part of the agreement was what came next. The Guardians made us promise that we would never use this technology for conquest or warfare, explained Haewon. The power to control natural disasters could easily be turned into a weapon that could destroy any world in the galaxy. They taught us this knowledge only because they believed humans could be trusted to use it responsibly, and Wu began to understand the implications of what he was hearing. You are telling us that humans could create earthquakes and storms and volcanic eruptions on any planet, but you choose not to. That is exactly what we are telling you, replied Ji-hoon. And now you understand why this knowledge is so dangerous. If other species knew that humans possessed this capability, they might see us as a threat rather than allies. The recordings continued, showing how Guardian technology had been integrated into human civilization over thousands of years. The alien visitors had not just given humans the tools to control natural disasters, they had taught them the wisdom to use those tools properly. Sojin stared at the ancient stone tablets covered with symbols that were clearly not human in origin. But where are the Guardians now? Why did they leave? The holographic display changed to show the final meetings between the Guardians and human leaders from long ago. The alien beings looked satisfied with how humans had learned to use their gift responsibly. They told us their work here was finished, said Yunbai. They had many other worlds to visit, other species to help. They said that humans had proven themselves worthy of the responsibility they had been given, but before they left they gave us one final gift and one final warning. The display showed the Guardians installing the deep underground monitoring systems that still operated today, technology that would allow humans to manage their planet for thousands of years to come. The gift was these permanent installations that would never break down and would always provide the power needed to control Earth's natural forces. The warning was that this technology could be detected by other species if we were not careful. Dongmin walked closer to examine the ancient Guardian artifacts. That is why you joined the Galactic Council so carefully. You needed to hide your true capabilities while still being part of the galactic community. Exactly, replied Haewon. We have been walking a very careful line for 50 years, sharing enough information to be good members of the galactic community, but not so much that anyone would realize what we are really capable. Afteho looked up from his monitoring station where he had been watching seismic activity around the planet. But why tell us this now? Why reveal your secret to us? Because, said Ji-hoon, the time for secrets may be coming to an end. The galaxy is about to face a Crisis that will require every possible advantage. One activated a new holographic display that showed star charts with red markers, indicating something that made the alien crew gasp and shock. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected something approaching from outside our galaxy, she explained. Something that has been systematically destroying inhabited worlds, leaving nothing but dead planets in its wake. The display showed a pattern of destruction moving slowly but steadily toward their part of the galaxy. World after world had gone silent, their civilizations wiped out by something that consumed entire planets. Yuri studied the pattern with growing horror. How many worlds have been destroyed? Over 300 so far, replied Yunbai, and the pattern suggests they are heading directly toward the core systems of the Galactic Council. The alien crew realized they were looking at an invasion force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen before, an enemy that did not just conquer planets but completely strip them of all life and resources. When that threat arrived, said, "Hey, the galaxy is going to need every advantage it can get. The Council will need species that can do more than just fight with ships and weapons. They will need species that can fight with planets themselves." Ishian Wu understood immediately. "You are offering to defend other worlds the same way you have defended Earth." "More than that," replied Ji-hoon. "We are offering to teach other species what the Guardians taught us: how to turn their own planets into fortresses, how to use natural disasters as defensive weapons when necessary." The implications were staggering. If humans could teach other species to control their planet's natural forces, every inhabited world in the galaxy could become a fortress, capable of defending itself with earthquakes and hurricanes and volcanic eruptions. "But first," said Haewon, "you need to see exactly what we are capable of in a real crisis tomorrow. We are going to show you something that will prove beyond any doubt that humanity is ready to help defend the galaxy." The next morning brought an emergency that no one had expected. Captain Hyun-woo was drinking coffee with his crew in the station cafeteria when alarms began blaring throughout the entire facility. Red lights flashed on every wall, and the sound of running footsteps echoed through the corridors as human technicians rushed to their emergency stations. "All personnel to emergency positions," announced a voice over the communication system. "This is not a drill." "Repeat, this is not a drill." Haewon appeared in the cafeteria, still wearing her night clothes, but carrying a tablet computer that showed readings unlike anything the alien crew had seen before. Her face was pale with worry as she motioned for them to follow her. "What is happening?" asked Sojin as they ran through the corridors toward the main control room. "The worst-case scenario we have prepared for but hoped would never happen," replied Haewon. "A perfect storm of geological events all occurring at the same time." They burst into the main control room, where dozens of human technicians were working frantically at their stations. The massive display screens showed a nightmare scenario developing across multiple continents. Simultaneous light. Ho called out from his seismic monitoring station. "Major fault line rupture in progress beneath the Pacific Ring of Fire, magnitude 9.5 earthquake building. This is larger than anything in our historical records," Yuri reported from her weather station. "Massive hurricane system forming in the Atlantic Ocean, category 6 waves detected. This storm system is beyond our normal measurement scales," Jae-sung announced from his volcanic monitoring position. "Yellowstone supervolcano showing critical activity underground. Pressure exceeds all previous measurements. Eruption imminent within 6 hours." But that was not all. The screen showed that similar events were happening around the globe. Earthquakes were building in fault systems that had been stable for centuries. Storm systems were forming with impossible speed and power. Volcanic activity was spiking in locations that had been dormant for thousands of years. "This cannot be natural," said Dongmin as he studied the patterns on the displays. "These events are all connected somehow." "You are right," replied Haewon grimly. "Our analysis suggests this is being caused by some kind of external force. Something is deliberately triggering geological instability across our entire planet." The alien crew watched in amazement as the human technicians worked with incredible coordination. Each person knew exactly what their job was, and they performed it with the precision of people who had trained for this scenario their entire lives. But even with all their skill and technology, the scale of what they were facing seemed impossible. "Can you handle all of this at once?" asked Hyun-woo. Have never faced anything like this before, admitted Ji-hoon, but we have to try. If we fail, millions of people will die. And human civilization will be set back thousands of years. The first crisis hit the Pacific Ocean. The massive earthquake that had been building finally released its energy, creating a tsunami that would reach populated coastlines within hours. The wave was so large that it would destroy cities on multiple continents, activating deep ocean barriers, called out Taeho. His fingers moved rapidly over his controls as he deployed technology that the alien crew had not known existed on the displays. They could see what was happening in real time. Massive structures rose from the ocean floor, artificial barriers that redirected the tsunami's energy and broke the giant wave into smaller, harmless surges. The technology was incredible, but it was only the beginning. Simultaneously, Yuri was battling the unprecedented hurricane in the Atlantic Ocean using atmospheric manipulation systems. She was trying to break apart the storm before it could reach land, but the hurricane was so powerful that her normal techniques were not working. Storm system too strong for standard protocol, she reported. I'm going to have to use the experimental weather control systems. Those systems have never been tested in real conditions, warned Haewon Wanhwa. Do not have a choice, replied Yuri. If this hurricane reaches the coast unchanged, it will destroy everything from Florida to Nova Scotia. While Yuri fought the hurricane, Jae-sung was dealing with the Yellowstone supervolcano, which was building toward an eruption that could cover half of North America in volcanic ash and trigger a global climate disaster. Attempting deep core pressure release, he announced, I am opening emergency magma channels to redirect the eruption underground, but the pressure levels are higher than our systems were designed to handle. The alien crew watched in fascination and growing respect as the humans fought to save their planet from multiple simultaneous disasters. Each technician was handling forces that could destroy continents, but they worked with calm determination and incredible skill. Slowly, the tide began to turn. Taeho. Tsunami barriers held, and the deadly ocean waves were successfully redirected away from populated areas. Yuri's experimental weather systems managed to break apart the massive hurricane, dispersing its energy harmlessly across the upper atmosphere. Jae-sung's magma redirection system successfully channeled the Yellowstone eruption through deep underground vents, preventing a surface explosion. But the biggest challenge was still coming. Multiple fault systems across the globe were now unstable and threatening to release earthquakes simultaneously. If all of them hit at once, the damage would be catastrophic. Even with human intervention, we need to coordinate a global response, said Haewon, all 47 monitoring stations working together. This has never been attempted before. What followed was the most impressive display of planetary management the alien crew could have imagined. Human technicians in monitoring stations around the world worked together to manage seismic activity on a global scale. They redirected earthquake energy through underground networks, channeling the destructive force away from cities and into safe release points beneath uninhabited areas. The process took 18 hours of continuous work. When it was finally over, the humans had successfully prevented what could have been the most devastating series of natural disasters in Earth's recorded history. They had saved millions of lives and preserved human civilization using technology and skills that no other species possessed. As the last earthquake was safely redirected and the final storm system dispersed, the main control room fell silent except for the quiet hum of computers and the heavy breathing of exhausted human. Jae-won turned to face the alien crew with tears in her eyes. This is what we do, she said quietly. Every day we stand guard against forces that could destroy our world. We have never used this power for conquest or warfare. We use it only to protect. Lee Hyun-woo looked around at the human technicians who had just performed what seemed like miracles. These people had demonstrated capabilities that could easily be turned into weapons of incredible destruction, but instead they had chosen to use their power only to preserve and protect. Now you understand why we kept this secret, said Ji-hoon. If other species knew what we were capable of, they might fear us, but we hope that, after seeing what you have seen today, you will understand that humanity can be trusted with this responsibilities. Jin spoke for the entire alien crew when she said, we have never seen anything like this. Your Species has abilities that could change the balance of power in the entire galaxy, but you have proven that you will use those abilities only for good. The test was over and humanity had passed. 3 days after witnessing the incredible display of human, planetary management Captain Hyun Woo stood in the main control room looking at the humans, who had just revealed their greatest secret to him and his crew. The revelation had changed everything he thought he knew about Earth and its people. He understood now why Earth had 0 natural disasters in their official records. The humans did not prevent disasters from happening, they prevented disasters from being recorded because they managed them before they could cause any damage. It was the most elegant solution to planetary safety that any species had ever developed. But questions remain that needed answers. Why did you really decide to tell us this? Asked Hyun Woo. You could have given us some scientific explanation about your planet's unusual geology. You could have sent us away without anyone being the wiser. HFY activated the holographic display system and showed them something that made the alien crew gasp. The display revealed deep space monitoring data that painted a terrifying picture of what was approaching their galaxy. Because the threat I mentioned before is closer than we initially calculated, she explained. Our most distant monitoring stations have detected the invasion force. They will reach the outer rim of our galaxy within 2 years. The holographic images showed a massive fleet of ships unlike anything in the galactic databases. Behind the ships were the dead husks of planets that had been completely stripped of all life and resources. The invasion force was not just conquering worlds, they were consuming them entirely. We estimate they have destroyed over 500 inhabited worlds, said Yunbai as she updated the display. With the latest data, they leave nothing behind, no survivors, no resources, no possibility of the planets ever supporting life again. Sojin studied the movement patterns of the invasion fleet with growing alarm. At their current speed, they will reach the core systems of the Galactic Council within 5 years. Our military forces have never faced anything like this before. That is exactly why we decided to reveal our capabilities to you, replied Ji-hoon. When this threat arrives, the galaxy will need every possible advantage. Traditional space warfare will not be enough to stop an enemy that can consume entire planets. Dongmin understood the implications immediately. You are offering to turn inhabited worlds into weapons, not weapons. Corrected. Hey, One Defense Systems. Every planet that learns our techniques becomes a fortress that can defend itself using natural forces. The invasion force has never encountered worlds that can fight back with earthquakes and hurricanes and volcanic eruptions. The concept was revolutionary. Instead of just relying on space fleets to defend against the invasion, every inhabited planet could become an active participant in its own defense. A world under attack could create massive storms to disrupt enemy ships, or cause earthquakes to destroy landing forces. But there is more, said Taeho as he brought up additional displays showing technical specifications. Our analysis of the Guardian technology suggests it can do things we have never attempted before, such as asked you're creating controlled wormholes for instant transportation between planets, replied Taeho, generating electromagnetic pulses powerful enough to disable entire fleets, manipulating gravitational fields to deflect incoming projectiles. The alien crew realized they were looking at technology that could revolutionize galactic defense. The Guardian systems that humans had been using for disaster management were actually multi-purpose tools, capable of incredible feats. We have spent 2,000 years learning to use this technology for protection, explained Jae-sung, but the Guardian records suggest it was originally designed for much more. We believe we can adapt it for active defense against any invasion. Hyun Woo made his decision as the commanding officer of a galactic survey vessel. Captain, he said formally, I am prepared to recommend to the Galactic Council that Earth be given immediate access to all military planning regarding this invasion threat. Your species clearly has capabilities that could be crucial to our survival, but we need more than just military cooperation, replied Hae-won. We need to begin training programs immediately. Other species need to learn these techniques before the invasion arrives. The logistics were staggering. They would need to identify planets with suitable geological conditions for Guardian technology installation. They would need to train alien technicians in planetary management techniques. They would need to build monitoring stations and control centers on dozens of worlds across the galaxy. How long would it take to prepare other worlds? Asked Sojin for basic earthquake and storm management. Probably 6 months per planet, replied Yuri, for full defensive capabilities, including the advanced techniques we have never used before. At least 2 years per world, but we do not have 2 years for every planet, pointed out Dongmin. The invasion force will be here much sooner than that. Then we start with the most important worlds first, said Ji-hoon. The core systems of the Galactic Council, the major population centers, the industrial worlds that support our civilization. Bai was already working on her tablet, creating preliminary lists and timelines. We can begin immediately with volunteer worlds, species that are willing to allow human technicians to install Guardian technology and train their people as they discussed the massive undertaking ahead of them. Hyun-woo realized that this was the beginning of a new era for galactic civilization. The discovery of Earth's true capabilities would change everything. The humans had hidden their greatest strength to avoid being seen as a threat, but now that strength would become the galaxy's greatest hope for survival against an enemy that had destroyed hundreds of worlds. We will need to be very careful about how we present this to the Galactic Council, warned Hyun-woo. Some species may still see human capabilities as threatening rather than helpful. That is why we need allies like you, replied Hae-won. Species that have seen what we can do and understand that we use our power responsibly. You can help convince others that humanity is offering partnership, not conquest. The next few hours were spent planning the most ambitious project in galactic history. Human technicians would travel to alien worlds to install Guardian technology. Alien scientists would come to Earth to learn planetary management techniques. Military planners would work together to develop new defensive strategies using natural disasters as weapons. It would require unprecedented cooperation between species that had never fully trusted each other. But the alternative was the complete destruction of galactic civilization. As Captain Hyun-woo prepared to leave Earth and return to Galactic Council headquarters, he carried with him not just the knowledge of humanity's secret, but a new understanding of what his species could accomplish when they worked together. The humans had spent 12,000 years learning to protect one world. Now they would teach the galaxy how to protect all worlds. The invasion force approaching from outside their galaxy had never faced planets that could defend themselves with the fury of nature itself. Earth would no longer be the only world with 0 natural disasters logged. Soon, dozens of planets would have the same protection and the same power to defend themselves against any threat. The universe was about to learn that sometimes the most powerful defenses are not built in shipyards or weapons factories. Sometimes they are built into the very planets themselves, waiting for someone wise enough to learn how to use them. And humanity had been practicing that wisdom for thousands of years, one prevented disaster at a time.